Welcome back. And now it's time for our press review. We are going to take a look at the main headlines of our Egyptian dailies. As usual, let me start with the banner of الأهم daily. The Washington Institute for Near East Policy recently published recommendations for future U.S. policy in the region, placing emphasis on Egypt as being a pivotal country for stability in the Middle East. It was prepared by a host of renowned authors, Samuel Berger and Stephen Hadley, both former national security advisors, James Jeffrey, a former ambassador to Turkey and Iraq, and also Dennis Ross, a former White House special envoy for Middle East peace, and Robert Satloff, the long-standing director of the Institute. Sustained military support has been a cornerstone of the U.S. relations with Egypt for decades. Meanwhile, chair of the Senate subcommittee overseeing foreign aid justified the continued hiatus of military aid in April 2014 by claiming to Reuters that Sisi's presidency amounted to a continued flaunting of human rights and as abuse of the judicial system. He referred specifically to a court ruling that sentenced 683 Muslim Brotherhood supporters to death on April 28 that year. Since then, the U.S. has softened its position on freezing some of the aid after Sisi's election in June 2014.
And we are still with Al-Ahram Daily, from which we read the cabinet reviewed during its weekly meeting on Thursday, headed by Prime Minister Ibrahim Mahlab, political, economic and security files and ways to combat terrorism. During the meeting, Mahlab confirmed that the administrative reform should be up to the citizen in the street, stressing the importance of the application of e-government, adding that there are specific mandates from the president to communicate with citizens and improving government services. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister had applied Minister of Planning and follow-up the development of the administrative reform of the real estate system to start its steps on the ground for the nationwide. Mahlab pointed out that he referred the one responsible for the power outage of the television broadcast of Maspero to the public prosecution, stressing that the issue will not pass without expenses.
Moving on to Al-Akhbar Daily. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi witnessed the developing work process of a number of armed forces factories for the production of cars, vehicles, armored vehicles, and spare parts, which are used in the manufacture of various types of vehicles. The President was accompanied by Prime Minister Ibrahim Mahlab, Minister of Defense and Military Production, General Sidqi Subhi, Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces, Mahmoud Higazi, and a number of ministers, governors, and senior armed forces commanders. We have more details in the following report, and we'll be back.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi reiterated on Thursday that facing current challenges requires serious work on traditional thinking and people's unity. El-Sisi expressed his confidence in the people's ability to lead Egypt to the future, urging employers to communicate with their employees to real awareness towards the importance of this phase. The president made his statement while inaugurating development work of a number of army factories to produce the latest cars, vehicles, and armored vehicles types and spare parts used in the manufacture of different types of vehicles. During his tour, he put his signature on the first battery of cars, totally made of Egyptian components and by Egyptian hands. The president hailed the distinguished standard and high spirit of the armed forces, stressing that they prove every day that they can conquer the possible and the impossible and make miracles. He added that he was very keen to provide the army with the utmost modern technology to enable them to fulfill their missions with the best and most perfect quality. El-Sisi also greeted the Egyptian youth and called on them to think out of the box, as creativity and hard work are the main pillars of a bright future. He added that the main target of his visit to those factories is to convey a message to all Egyptians that the presidency is following up with all projects in the field and that work is undergoing in everywhere in the country.
Welcome back.
And of course, yes, the next one from Al Jamhuriya newspaper, we read President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met on Thursday with Prime Minister Ibrahim Mahlab as he reviewed the results of his latest visit to Paris and the meetings he held with many French personalities, as well as the French President François Hollande. The visit discussed means to boost the bilateral relations between the two countries, basing on the results of the successful visit of the President to Paris in November 2014. The president stressed the importance of following up the results of the economic conference of Sharm el-Sheikh and starting the implementation of investment projects which had been agreed on to be implemented by French companies. The visit also discussed the results and the work on attracting more French investments to Egypt, especially in the field of energy production. Prime Minister said that the price and control of the quality of goods were adjusted to meet the needs of the citizens of the food and medicine, in addition to anti-terrorism efforts.
I'm moving on to another headline. In the latest in an internal political crisis rocking Egypt's eldest liberal party, the Wafd party, suspended board members have said they would not attend party leadership elections on Friday. The party's leader, Said al-Badawi, in whom they have withdrawn their confidence citing abuse of power, has said that the elections would go ahead and that the party's board would then convene on Saturday to discuss the fate of the suspended members. Al-Badawi added that the suspended members are welcome again in the party. On Wednesday, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met with Al-Wafd party leader Al-Badawi and the leaders of the suspended board members, including Fuad Badrawi, calling for reform in an attempt to solve the party's internal crisis. Badrawi on Thursday slammed Sayyid al-Badawi for not making serious attempts to solve the problems within the party, just hours after praising the efforts of the presidency in ending the political crisis in Al-Wafd party. He announced that he and other members of the reform faction would not participate in the party's General Assembly elections to take place on Friday.
And in the latest, actually from Al-Masri اليوم, we're going to read that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and UNESCO chief Irina Bokova have condemned extremist assaults on cultural heritage in the Middle East, warning that ancient sites have become targets for terrorism. Bokova, meanwhile, said that Egypt's cultural and human diversity should serve as an asset in combating extremism and push intercultural dialogue. Bokova is already attending an international conference in Cairo tackling efforts to protect heritage from extremist sabotage. The issue has become more pressing following Daesh's destruction of invaluable treasures and antiquities at a museum in the Iraqi city of Mosul last February. During her participation in the Cultural Heritage Under Threat, an international conference that launched in Cairo on Wednesday, Bokova described aggressions on heritage locations as a war crime.
I'm moving on to another headline from Al-Shuruq newspaper. The Central Agency for Public Mobilization and Statistics stated that the number of Egyptian families will reach on the 1st of July 2014 about 20.1 million households, of whom about 9.3 million households in the urban areas increased by almost 46%, and about 10.8 million households in rural areas by 54% of the total. In a statement for the International Day of the Family on Thursday, the agency said that the proportion of families with less than 3 members amounted to 17.7%, while more than a third of the number of households, which amounts about 37%, estimated the number of individuals by between 3 to 4 members. It also showed that the approximately 22.4% of the families of the 5 members and 17.8% of households numbering between 6 ranges to 7 members, while the lowest percentage in the amount of 5.1% was for families with 8 members over. And the heads of families proportion of men, 82.2% versus 17.8%, are headed by women.
And finally, from اليوم السابع, we read that the stock market lost £9.6 billion on Thursday trading, pushed by the purchasing operations of the Egyptian and Arab investors, while tender to selling foreign investors. We have more details in the following report.
Market lost £9.6 billion on Thursday trading, pushed by the purchasing operations of the Egyptian and Arab investors. Egypt stock indices collectively retreated during the weekend closing session as the main EGX 30 index was down by 2.16%, while the EGX 20 index retreated by 3.6%. The small and medium size of EGX 70 indices went down by 3.1%. Meanwhile, the most expanded EGX 100 index raised by 2.2%. The telecommunication sector controlled about 50% of the volume of transactions.
Welcome back. And with this, we come to the end of our press review for now, but still we have more on the breakfast show. And actually, we're going to move on to a quick break, but after the break, we will be back from an outside location, because definitely we will enjoy being out during this, let's say,
Yes.
I like the weather these days. It's still, we are springtime, so we are going to move outdoors to the garden, and we will bring you more on the breakfast show. Moving on to a quick break, and we will be back.
A group of young Egyptian men and boys breakdancing on the streets of Cairo may look like they're just showing off, but speak to them and you'll see that this is serious training. The crew of 20 was formed by Hamada Stereo in late 2014 and already harbor ambitions of making it to the big time by entering this year's Red Bull breakdancing competition. This dance style slowly gained popularity in the Zawiya al-Hamra area in Cairo, where the group meet to train. A training session typically consists of 30 minutes of warm-up before the group are taught new moves or practice old ones. Hamada says that beginners start with a handstand and work upwards from there. Breakdancing, also known as b-boying, originated within the African American community in the 1980s. Nowadays, the dance is so popular that countless competitions are held annually worldwide. The Red Bull BC1 is an annual competition organized by the energy drink company. Competition is held on every continent in a knockout format, with solo dancers competing against each other to impress a panel of judges. The judges then pick the winner, who competes in the international competition with other b-boys. Several values and rules exist to win a battle, such as the foundation, which maintains the essence of the moves,